The voice sounded exactly like her grandson. Not similar, not close. Exact. That was why the panic hit so fast. He sounded frightened, embarrassed, urgent. He said he had been in an accident, said he was in trouble, said he needed help immediately. And before the call ended, a grandmother had been pushed towards sending $45,000 to criminals who knew exactly how to weaponize family love. This is how grandparent scams are evolving, why AI voice cloning makes them even more dangerous, and the simple family rule that can stop this kind of fraud before panic takes over. Barbara was 74 and proud of how careful she usually was. She had heard about scam calls before. She knew not to trust random strangers, not to click suspicious links, not to give out account information over the phone. But none of those rules felt relevant when the voice on the line sounded like family. That is the power of emotional identity. The call began in chaos, a young male voice, fast breathing, fear. He said, "Grandma, please don't panic." That sentence alone is enough to collapse people into emergency mode. He said there had been an accident. He said he was being held. He said he didn't want his parents to know yet. Then he begged her not to tell anyone. That part is important. Because scammers don't just create urgency, they create isolation. If the victim talks to another family member, the scam can fall apart quickly. So the caller builds a private emotional tunnel between the victim and the crisis. It becomes, help now, think later. Barbara was no longer evaluating a phone call. She believed she was responding to a family emergency. Then a second person came on the line, calm, controlled, official sounding. That is another common move. The first voice creates panic. The second voice creates process. Together, they guide the victim toward obedience. Barbara was told money would be needed, fast. There were legal issues, bail, fees, a narrow window to help. The details were just plausible enough to keep her mind from fully slowing down. And because the first voice had sounded so real, the rest of the call inherited that trust. That is the danger of voice cloning. The scam no longer depends only on a good story. It depends on sound, familiar sound, the kind of sound that bypasses logic and goes straight to instinct. A grandmother may doubt a stranger, but she does not doubt the voice she believes she has known for years. That is what makes AI-assisted scams so dangerous. The criminal doesn't need to be convincing in every detail. They only need the first emotional impression to be strong enough to carry everything that follows. Once the heart says, "That's him," the brain starts trying to catch up. Barbara believed she was protecting her grandson. In reality, she was being rushed toward a financial decision that made no sense outside the emotional pressure of the moment. Maybe she was told delay would make things worse. Maybe she was told this was the only way to protect him before formal charges or family fallout made everything harder. That is how these scams work. The victim is not asked to make a wise decision, they are pushed to make a fast one. And once urgency replaces verification, the money can move before reality has a chance to catch up. The collapse usually comes after the money starts moving. A callback, a family member reached by chance, a question finally asked out loud, and then the unbearable truth. The grandson was never in jail. The emergency was never real. The voice had been enough. That is one of the cruelest things about this scam. The victim is left replaying not just the payment, but the voice. Because the voice was the part that made everything feel undeniable. So what should viewers learn from this? First, the moment a caller says don't tell anyone, your alarm should go up, not down. Second, no matter how convincing the voice sounds, verification must come before money. Third, every family with older parents or grandparents should create a private code word or verification question now, before there is ever a crisis. Fourth, if a caller says someone you love is in urgent trouble, hang up and call that person or another close family member directly. Real emergencies survive callbacks. Scams often don't. AI is making some scams feel more believable, but the solution is not fear. It is process, because criminals may be getting better at sounding like family, but they can still be stopped by families that plan ahead.